Cheers and welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, I'm excited, and I know I always get excited, but when it comes to beer brewing, it's easy for me. I enjoy it. It's something I love to do. So what are we doing today? Well, first of all, it's the new Anvil Foundry 10.5, and that's what we're brewing on today. Yes, we're brewing on the new system. It is the maiden voyage. As you've seen, I have two other systems which I purchased over the years, and Anvil was kind enough to send me this one. Yes, courtesy of Anvil. And this is the maiden voyage. Now, real quick, because I know there's a few of you out there going, man, I'm getting my panties in a bind. I wish I would have waited. No, you didn't. Because if you had waited, you wouldn't have enjoyed brewing and brewing so many cool beers. So if you want a second one, there you go, get a second one. The key with that, and what I like having two, and right now I haven't been doing it lately, and eventually I may do all three at the same time. I'm looking forward to it. I thought about doing it today. But you can brew at the same time, or stagger it a little bit if you got a bunch of hop additions and you don't want to be overwhelmed. That way, if you only have one day a month to brew or something like that, you can knock out two batches at the same time. Have some friends over, make them help you, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's some great reasons to have two brew systems. I have three. I don't know if I can do three by myself, but I'll try. So what are we brewing? Yes, what are we brewing? Well, we're gonna brew a Witbier. Yes, a Belgian Witbier, or the twist. You know me, there's always a twist. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing. I definitely appreciate the support. And check the subscribe button, even if you're subscribed. I had a couple people report to me that they had to hit it again. They were like, wait a minute, I know I was subscribed, what happened? YouTube's getting goofy. I've had some weird things like that too with other channels that I watch and I know I was subscribed. So first of all, what's the grain bill? And why is there a twist? We'll get to the twist. First of all, very typical. We got 2 pounds of wheat there, nothing special. 4 pounds of avant-garde Pilsner. And yes, I got new containers. I like them, they're nice. I can seal them up too. And then I made a decision here. This is what I'm saying when I tell you, find a recipe you like and make it your own. If there's certain things, once you start understanding the grains and understanding what they bring to the table, you can modify the recipe to fit your personal tastes. So this is 2 pounds of flaked wheat and 12 ounces of flaked oatmeal. The majority of the recipes out there that were similar to this recommended a full pound of oatmeal flaked for a 5-gallon batch. Allagash, we all know who Allagash is, and they make an amazing white, which is the wit beer they make that is kind of like the standard for wit beers in America. But 1 pound would have increased my final gravity a little bit and given it even more mouthfeel. I'm still gonna get quite a bit of mouthfeel out of 12 ounces. And I'm going for a drier beer if I can. So another reason I went from a 150 mash, I decided to go down to a 148. 150 is the typical recommendation on a wit beer from what I've read out there and researched. 148 is gonna hopefully get my final gravity, theoretically, because it hasn't happened yet, from 1.010 to 1.008. And if I can get down to 8, that would be awesome. Still gonna be just at 5, but it'll probably be 5.1, 5.2%, which is fine. But it's gonna give it that drier taste, which I prefer. Now, what's the twist? Of course, we got the coriander. I'm gonna tell you too on the coriander, if you're buying coriander, buy it in bulk like this on Amazon. Much cheaper than buying it at your grocery store, unless you're gonna do one wit beer and that's it and you're done. Then just go buy some good quality crushed and rock on. This I've seen online telling me to use anywhere from 1 to 2 grams per gallon to as much as an ounce per 5 gallons, or a ½ ounce to an ounce. I'm gonna go for the full ounce, which is also what some people recommended at 28 grams. 28 grams and 1 ounce are not 100% identical, but it's pretty close. I think 1 ounce is just a hair more than 28 grams. I'll make sure when I do it, I'll put it up on the screen, not a big deal. I'm gonna toast it too. I saw a couple people toast it. I'm gonna toast it, and I'm not going to crush it into a powder. I'm just going to crush it, just smash it, and then we'll toss it in the last 5 minutes and get some earthy citrus out of there, because you will bring a little earthiness to it, which I'm a little concerned going that high on the coriander. So we'll see. And for organic, might as well. That way I don't put any kind of pesticides in there. I don't know if I've drank any before, but probably have. So hey, yeast. I had Mangrove Jacks, White Labs, a couple White Labs, and I have this premium Lallemand Belgian Witbier yeast. I've never used it. So that's what we're using today, the Lallemand. Then let's go on over to the hops. Hops, I've got Hallertau Magnum. I'm only using 0.3 of an ounce, and we're gonna use that at 60 minutes. It's gonna be a 60-minute boil, and that will give us our bittering. It's pretty neutral. It is a stronger alpha. The reason I went that is I wanna minimize any grassiness that may be contributed to the beer through hops. I do have a late addition hops, which is not always a standard, but we'll get into that. I'm gonna show you that next. So what's the late addition? Saz from Yakima Valley hops. The other one's Yakima Chief, but this is Yakima Valley. I have 0.8 of an ounce left at 3.5. I could do a full 1 ounce at 2.2, which I have, but I figured I'd finish this off, put it in the last 5 minutes just to get that little bit of a spice that Saz brings to the beer. Like I said too, it's not a full ounce, so I'm keeping it under control. And here's the twist. Florida Ruby Red Grapefruits. Yes, Florida Ruby Red Grapefruits. I got 5. I don't know how many ounces that's gonna give me in Zest, but I really want the grapefruit to pop. And instead of adding that in the boil, I know everybody's going, ooh, where else would you add it? Some of you know. I feel that lately when I've added Zest to the primary instead of to the boil, I get more flavor out of it, a lot more flavor out of it. Sorry about the knocking there. So I'm gonna put it in a Pyrex. I'm gonna just put some water, bring it up just to a boil, just enough to make sure everything's dead in there, and then let it cool down a little bit, and I'm just gonna dump it into the fermenter. That's it. I will make sure I let you know how many ounces I use so that when we do the taste test, we'll know how much, you know, as far as flavor-wise contributed based on how many ounces or grams, yes, and grams, I'll put that up there, of Ruby Red Grapefruit Zest. So, I can't think of anything else. I will say if you have the new one and you have the new grain basket and you got these weird little pieces of metal, you may have deductive reasoning, realize that they line up with the holes on the little feet that go on the grain basket. Yeah, these go on the inside. You don't need to put them in, but they will give you a little bit more tension strength of, tensile strength, something like that, strength. Less likely to bend your grain basket if you grew up playing with Tonka toys, cinder blocks, or maybe you just like to do really big batches and you drop it down hard because your back hurts. I can relate to the last one. So, but yeah, just a heads up on those. And if you're ever putting your feet on, put the screws from the inside out with the nuts on the outside in case you're one of those people who likes to use a brew in a bag inside of the metal brew in a bag called a grain basket. I don't quite get that yet, but it's okay. Everybody each to their own. So, you know what I say? Let's get brewing. Got the new grain crusher over here, Mighty Mill or whatever it's called. Malt Master. Yeah, let's get crushing. And for anybody who wonders, I just want to make sure I let you know this. I've got the new Malt Master over here. It's a 3-roller crusher. Yes, I will always put links to everything down below. Some may or may not be affiliate links, but I'm gonna crush all my grain for the grain basket. I'm not doing a brew in a bag. Is 0.0375. With the exception of my wheat, I normally crush that at the same. Rye, I don't, I put it 0.025. I'm gonna go ahead and crush the wheat malt, not the flaked, I'm not crushing that, really, at 0.025. And of course, I'll let you know how much rice hulls I put in there. I'll probably put close to 6.5 ounces of rice hulls, which is 3.2 ounces, I think we figured out is a nice size solo cup, so it'll probably be 2 solo cups worth. Let's get brewing. Okay, we're ready to mash in, but before I mash in, we're at 148, dropped it down to 65%. Usually I don't do that until afterwards, but I've got my reasons. So yeah, this is the new false bottom. It's been around for a little while, but it is of course continued in this new edition, and they've brought the little holes back, but it's only about 1.5 inches instead of the 3 inches it used to be. So the holes are back. I have not put a small batch adapter in this one at this time. I want to try it without it first. And this is the false bottom. It goes in from the top, it snaps in place because there's these little tiny divots and they're all the way around and it pops in place. It's not as easy to pop back out, but if you let one side go down and the other side you push up, it's not that hard. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put that false bottom in there. Another thing, which I've mentioned in the past to help increase efficiencies, is because all of the all-in-ones have a little bit of dead space around here of water that doesn't really recirculate, you can lift the grain basket all the way up, about 15 minutes in and then maybe 30 minutes in, and then lower it back down. I don't know if I would recommend that with a false bottom because when you bring it up, that pressure coming back down could push it up and make a huge mess. So be warned. I'm really seriously considering trying it though. It could be a train wreck, I don't know. But I'm thinking about doing it. I think the divots will hold it in place as long as I lower it back in very slowly, nice and slowly. I'm gonna have to do lots of experiments with this new system, from without the small batch adapter, lowering, raising, not doing it, but with all-in-one systems, like I said, there is a little bit of water that just never really gets recirculated, that sits up around this area. And if you get that water to recirculate, it increases the amount that it can absorb in the grains. A small batch might not really matter. A larger batch, it could be, a huge difference, because just like taking salt or sugar, when you add it to water and you stir it and you add more, eventually it's hard to get any of it to dissolve. You add more water, suddenly it dissolves. Yeah, so I'm not a chemist or a whatever type of scientist that would do that. I don't know. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna get this in. I am going with 6.5 ounces of rice hulls just to be safe. And let's get mashed in. And when we get started, I'll speed it up as usual. A little tip when you're lowering the grain basket in, verify where the feet are. I like to make sure they're on this side. And I mean the feet that hold it up, the little pieces. That way, when I go to lift it, I know where to pull it to hook it. And you're not going, oh, where are they? Where are they? Yeah, it's not a good look. Okay, I'm slipping. I almost forgot the brewing salts. So I'll put them on the screen like usual. Dump them in there. They weren't in here very long and still sticking a little. There we go. And give that a nice little stir. Okay, here we go. And like I said, I'll speed it up. I'm gonna dump about half the rice hulls in right off the bat. Okay, so I planned to mash in at 148, sitting at around 60. I was still up around the 150, right at 150. I lowered it down to 50%. I still at 149, so I've lowered it to 45% power. We'll see how that goes. And I've got a nice tinkle going, should we say, for stream. And I'm just gonna take it nice and easy, let that recirculate. I may increase it a tiny bit here in a little bit, but I want to make sure, I gave it the full 10 minutes to let the mash settle before I started the recirc. But yeah, we'll be here for 75 minutes, then we've got a 5-minute ramp up to 168. We'll be there for 10 minutes, and then mash out, sparge out, whatever you want to call it. Pour 1 gallon of sparge water at 170 over the top Fahrenheit, and then we'll get into our 60-minute boil shortly after that. So we've got some time. Okay, this is the new system. I've been sitting at 40% power, and I'm sitting at 148, bouncing up and down 1 degree, 40%. It's kind of cool. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, kick this up to 168. I've been star sanding and washing the grapefruit before I go zest them, and weigh the zest out so that way you know how much zest I'm using. But the zest doesn't need it until at the end of the boil, but I wanna be prepared, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and kick it up to 168. It'll take about 5 minutes to get there, and we'll be there for about 10 minutes before we go ahead and mash out, sparge out. Gotta heat up a gallon of sparge water. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the grain basket out, stop the recirculation just a minute ago. Pull this out. Can't find my normal metal clamp, so I'll use this thing. Just don't want it to fall, you know what I mean? Okay, this is gonna be dripping, and here we go. I know, people are freaking out. Not a big grain bill today, and we'll let that drain for a little bit until sparge water is heated up, which it's getting close. Yes, I'm pointing it at my ceiling. I'm gonna go ahead, sparge out, and then we'll get this off here and kick it up to a boil. Here we go. We're at a rolling boil. We hit it at 207, it's 210. I dumped what little bit of runoff went in there, and it's getting up to 212 very quick if it's not already there. I've got my 0.30 ounce of Halta Magnum. Yes. Go ahead, drop that in there, and I'm gonna get the steam condenser on top. Gotta get the tubes, gotta get it all set up. And I probably should have been more prepared, but it's okay. We'll get there. Let's get going. Definitely gonna drop the power down, tell you that straight up. Drop it down to like 50. This thing's a beast. There we go. Okay, so our steam condenser's on. Only went about 4 minutes without it, so. Okay, we got about another 55 minutes here. I'm just gonna let it go. I'll keep checking to make sure the rolling boil gets back. Just want the error on the side of safety. If you hear that water in the background, that's the steam condenser. But we're rocking and rolling. I gotta tell you, little extra hose on both of these makes it so much easier, for at least for me. If you're right next to your sink, it might be completely different for you. But for me, that just makes it super easy. Okay, so we're getting close to the last 5 minutes. So I'm gonna shut the steam condenser down. If that just moved. There we go. Shut the water off to that. I'll let that just go for a minute. Then we need to take our hop bag out and add our last 5-minute addition, which is our Saz. Okay, I definitely had a little bowl go up. You know what? Yeah, what's that called? Have a backup plan. So my backup plan is the hops will go in this bag, and I've got 1 ounce of 10-minute toasted at medium high coriander, crushed. Yes, quite literally crushed, just so it's at least in half. You know what I mean? Break the little pods open. That's the key. Oh my gosh, it is like super earthy citrus, like pure citrus with a little bit of earth. Kind of like smelling an orange peel. Yeah, a lot like smelling an orange peel. Speaking of peels, we're not there yet, but I've got 3.6 ounces, and I'll put the grams up, of grapefruit going on, if I can ever get the coriander out of this bag without spilling it. There we go. I think I'm making progress. Yeah, here we go. I wonder if the coriander will act like rice holes for the hops in here. There we go. We'll drop that in there, get it nice and wet. And actually I'll put it over, whew, smells amazing. I mean, big time. more aroma than hops. Whirl flock, no, I didn't crush it. I probably should, just to make it a little easier. See if I don't break the plate. There we go, done. Kick this up to 100% for the last 5 minutes here, just because it's slowing down, of course. Here we go. Let me take a quick one. Yeah, we definitely want to kick that up to a boil. And we want to get the Whirl Flock tablet into the liquid and off of the hop bag. Happy I looked in. Okay. We're also going to need some yeast nutrient. Let me grab that. Drop in a heaping teaspoon, or actually 2 since these are half teaspoons. Okay, time to kill the boil. I'm going to drop in the chiller and cool things down, and we'll move it to the fermenter, and then we'll do the grapefruit addition and the yeast. Did we have a good brew day? I thought we did. Yeah, I thought we did. I screwed up somewhere. Not sure where, but I screwed up somewhere. So I estimated a 75% brew house efficiency. And I know a lot of you focus on mash efficiencies, but honestly, unless you're a professional brewer and you're trying to make adjustments based on your mash efficiencies to correct something before the finish of the beer, I just focus on the total beer. I can go back and brew it again. It's not a big deal. I want to see where I was, where I should have been, and where I ended up. And that's why I usually rely on brew house efficiencies to see the whole picture, not just a segment. I'm not going to correct it right away. It's just something that now if I need to correct a little bit, which I did in this, I can still do it afterwards, and I'll explain. So first of all, did I lift the grain basket? Yes, I didn't put it on camera. I was going really, really slow. I did it at 15 minutes. I did not do it again at 30. I'm all good. I still did not hit my brew house efficiencies. I should have been, according to Beersmith, at 73%. I estimate at 75% because I'm usually well over that. I'm usually somewhere around 75 to in the very low 80s. And this was under 9 pounds of grain. So not sure what happened. I really am not sure. I was supposed to pull 5.15 gallons of wort. I knew I might pull a little bit more because I was estimating that my boil off would be a little higher since I was going to be putting the steam condenser on a little late and taking it off a little early. Otherwise, in my previous boil off, sometimes I've been a little low and have had to compensate by adding a little bit more of the distilled water, just a little bit. This time, instead of being at 5.15, I was at 5.375 gallons pulled, and that's fine. I went and checked some numbers, and compensating for that, yeah, I'm still at 66% instead of 75. So like I said, I don't know what happened. Now, how did I correct it? I didn't really correct it. I made a fix for myself. That estimates for Beersmith is that I will be around 5 and 5.1% if I was at 75% brew house efficiency, but I wasn't. It's at 66, which would have put me at 4.3% ABV. All I had to do is add 2 ounces of corn sugar to get myself up to 4.5%, which is 1.041 instead of 1.040. I haven't taken a measurement since then because the corn sugar is in here where I was boiling the water, and then I added the 3.6 ounces from 5 ruby red grapefruits, the Zest. Yeah, 3.6 ounces of Zest. And here's what's really cool with the glycol chiller. Got this down to around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, put it on the glycol, kicked it all the way down to 64 Fahrenheit, gonna ferment around 68. But now when I add that, my temperature will go up and won't be crazy, and I can add everything else from the yeast to, Clarity Firm. I'm gonna put a little bit of that in there, and we'll go from there. So, I also considered White Labs 410 and 400. 410 will actually is probably what I would prefer most of the time because it's going to ferment very dry, just like the Lullemans, and it's going to add some phenols and some spices that I would really like. But Lullemans, is going to be very clean. It can be used for other wheat beers. But the one thing that they mentioned that I kind of said, you know what? I like that idea. It's going to let the coriander and the grapefruit stand out more, and it's not going to kind of fight with it, should we say, or play in the same, not playing nicely in the sandbox. Yeah, it's just going to let the flavors stand out. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. I want to see how everything stands out without the yeast really fighting or competing with it. So we're gonna definitely do the Lallemand Belgian wit yeast. Now the Mangrove Jacks is also kind of spicy like the 410 and not the 400, but the Mangrove Jacks I have is very old and I was concerned it may not kick, so I'd have to pitch that and then I may have to follow it up with something like this anyways. Yeah, we're just gonna go to Lallemand and not worry about it. So right now, I've got to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna take this bad boy. Yep, we're good with that. I'm okay with this. We're gonna pop this up, maybe, we'll see. Oh, that was really, really bad. I think I just broke it. So we're gonna pause for an intermission while I replace the whole entire top. Okay, figure what the heck. Yeah, I broke the top. Snap that bad boy clean. So we're gonna use this one and move it over here. I've got to spray it down. It's clean, but I like to spray it and rinse it just before I put it in to make sure it's perfect. So we're gonna move this over here. I'm gonna go right ahead and add this. Take the spoon we had, still kind of on the hot side, stir it up. That way I can get the majority of the grapefruit to go in there. And I'm making a big mess. Oh well, I will clean that up. And yes, that was wort. I took 6 cups of wort from the actual wort I pulled, and then I boiled it and added corn sugar, the 2 ounces I mentioned, and the 3.6 ounces of grapefruit zest. Okay, we're gonna have to clean that up in a minute, but for now, to ensure nothing gets in here, I'm gonna set that there. I'm gonna rinse that and be like, and then I'll put it on in. Okay, I take that back. Before we put the glycol chiller back in there, I'm gonna add Clarity Ferm and the wit yeast, which I have my star sand here. And before you just star sand these, rinse them off with some warm water, which is what I usually do. Nothing hot, just clean, you know what I'm saying? Okay, same. And the scissors, yes, they're fresh out of the dishwasher, but to make everybody nice and happy. There we go. Oh yeah. It's actually got a little bit of a smell. Dry yeast doesn't have much of a smell compared to liquid. That definitely has a little bit of a aroma, not much. But I had to tell you, it'd be kind of fruity. Very light, very mild. Something else in there going on too. Not sure. Okay, actually, we're good. I'm just gonna go ahead, get that clean, put it in here, get it fermenting, and don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing, and don't forget to join me on the taste testing of the grapefruit coriander Witbier, or Witbier with grapefruit and coriander. However you wanna say it, I don't care. Hopefully we'll get around 1.008 or 1.007, which is estimating now, for a nice dry finish. 4.5 will be nice. It'll be refreshing. I know I'm in Florida. I know things are starting to cool off for some people, but we've still got many hot days ahead of us. It'll be a nice beer to enjoy. Cheers.